get his sound.
The
So
800-page bill.
let us
This bill would
hear
create
from
minimum standards for
him
states in
now.
terms of how they must run elections, federal standards that states must abide by.
Are you there?
It would basically
Henry?
destroy a lot of voter ID proposals and laws in a variety of different states.
The David Pakman Show, Tuesday through Friday evenings at 7 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Henry?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear him.
Daniel, President
Okay.
and Business Manager of the Sheet Metal Workers.
You can hear him not loudly and clearly?
Workers across Illinois.
I can hear him loudly and clearly.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Okay, everybody, let's have a great show.
For the sole benefit of
Let's do it. We have about 2 minutes.
brought it to the table. We
Fantastic.
did it for the benefit of all workers across our state. If you work at a coffee shop, a sheet metal shop, or a corporate office, all workers deserve a safe and respectful workplace, a fair living wage to raise their families, affordable and expansive health insurance to protect their families, and a dignified retirement at the end of their working career. Unions fight every day for those basic rights. This amendment blocks anti-worker legislation that continues to negatively impact families across many other states, including lowering wages and unsafe working conditions. There was a lot of buzz when this amendment was up for a vote, but I believe the real buzz should be now. Let's celebrate a win for the working class. Learn us at smart265.org.
60 seconds.
Okay, thank you. And when he comes on, please put him on mute.
Yes, I'll give you a text when you're muted.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, I can hear everything in the background.
Better?
Okay, no, I just want to make sure the pastor's not doing anything in the background.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and please let, okay, well, there's something I'm hearing aside from my Chug-a-Lug printer. So, okay, very good. Okay, I don't hear anything. Okay, thank you.
Lake Cook Road, Long Grove. Today through Saturday, 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. Rain or shine. Online at theprimehousedirect.com.
All right, stand by.
Okay, thank you.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. Yes, we can. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. It's Thursday, October 12th, 2023, and I am glad to be with you this morning. Boy, there is so much that is going on in the news, and let's get right to it on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Middle East, but really we have to look at something a little closer to home. What's happening with the speakership? If Ukraine or if Israel need or want our aid, and they certainly do, they have to go through the U.S. House of Representatives in order to get it. Problem is, you can't conduct business without a speaker. And it seems that we are no closer to having a speaker today than we were yesterday. Steve Scalise, who was not endorsed by Donald Trump, as was Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise has hit a snag. In the private caucus, he was able to gather 113 votes, but 3 of the votes are from non-voting members. Boom. So that means he only has 110 votes. He needs 217. Maybe McCarthy doesn't look so weak after all, but that having been said, because he was able to pull together 218, it took him 15 passes, but he was able to do it. And now you have several holdouts. Indeed, one of the Republican representatives said, I will not represent someone who stood with a man, I will not stand with a man who stood with David Duke, to paraphrase her. Wow. Remember, I brought that story to you last week, and that story is now beginning to gain some traction. So let's talk about what's happening in the U.S. House of Representatives and, of course, continue to look at what's happening in the Middle East, at the onslaught there. It's a humanitarian crisis that's unfolding in the Gaza Strip, according to this headline. As we get to the headlines here on the Santita Jackson Show, in the Gaza Strip, food, water, medicine, and fuel are running out in the blockaded Palestinian territory. Indeed, that has been cut off by Israel, which is in fact a war crime. Israeli strikes have killed at least 1,350 people since Saturday's attack on Hamas. The death toll from Hamas's attack is at least 1,300, and bodies are still being found in Israel. The pain is on every side, everybody. And Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel just about an hour or so ago. At least 22 Americans have been killed, and others may be among the more than 100 hostages in Gaza. Be mindful of the fact that people who they are calling hostages, or some of them are actually prisoners of war, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's declared war. And if you're a member of the IDF, you are in fact a prisoner of war, not a hostage. And interestingly enough, the head of the chairman of the powerful U.S. Foreign Affairs Committee, Republican Michael McCall, said, "We know that Egypt warned Israelis 3 days prior that an event like this could happen." He was speaking to reporters following a closed-door intelligence briefing for lawmakers on the crisis. He added, "I don't want to get too much into classified details, but a warning was given. I think the question was at what level?" And I think we need to know, since it has been denied on the Israeli side, just what happened. And indeed, they have accused Hamas of beheading babies, and indeed, those accusations are being widely debunked by other reporters on the ground. They're saying that did not happen. Keep your eyes on that story. The UAW expanded its strike to hit the biggest Ford factory in the world. Where is that? In Louisville, Kentucky. The plant that makes up about one-sixth of Ford's annual global sales. An additional 8,700 auto workers walked off the job yesterday because Ford refused to, quote, make further movement and contract bargaining, according to the union. About 33,700 auto workers are on strike against the big three Detroit automakers. Wow, inflation probably rose again last month, according to this data. The new federal data is expected to show today that prices rose about 3.6% in September. California is banning 4 additives used in thousands of food products. Check that out, everybody. Red dye number 3, bromated vegetable oil, potassium bromate, and propyl paraben. Look at that, everybody. Red dye number 3, bromated vegetable oil, potassium bromate, and propyl paraben. They're found in some candy, baked goods, frostings, and other products. They've been linked to the risk of cancer, everybody. Please, please, please be careful and check out what you are eating. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 59 degrees. It has already been raining off and on all night. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 57 degrees, partly cloudy. In the NFL tonight, the Broncos will be facing off against Kansas City. And in Major League Baseball, the Phillies beat Atlanta 10-2. They are up in that series 2-1. The Astros won their series by a margin of 3-1. They won over the Twins yesterday 3-2. Better luck, Twins, next year, but you gave it a great run this year. The Diamondbacks, well, they won their series over the Dodgers 4-2, 3-0, shutting them out. Tonight, we will be seeing the Phillies play Atlanta. In the WNBA, last night, the Asians went up 2-0 over the Liberty, 104-76. That is convincing, everybody. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. I do hope that next week at the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Jamil Mohammed, who is head of education for Cisco. Many of us put our children on the academic track, right? We want them to go to college, and we dream of going to a college graduation. And really, the point of education, my parents told me, is to develop your mind and to develop your gifts, whatever they are, so that you can become who you're supposed to be. And sometimes those gifts are vocational. Sometimes they're artistic. Sometimes they're athletic. They're not just academic. And many of our young people are going past the trades where they can get their educations paid for, so they would be debt-free, and they can come out making $30, $40, $50, $60, $70, $80, $100,000 a year. just a couple of years out of high school. We're going to talk with Jamila Muhammad about that. And indeed, Joan Esposito and I are going to be hosting a live in-person Union Strong panel that will be talking about those options that you will have. Now, I want you to join us at 2021 Swift Drive in Oak Brook. You need to register for this particular seminar. It's going to be great. You're going to find out about investing your money for retirement, even if you're not wealthy, if you're working class, if you're middle class. That's Megan Financial, a sponsor of this show. But at 2021 Swift Drive at the beautiful Roofers Local 11 Union Hall in Oak Brook, Illinois. Meet us there next week. That's right, on Wednesday, October 18th from 3 to 5 p.m. Wednesday, October 18th from 3 to 5 p.m. You need to be at 2021 Swift Drive, but you need to register. It's free, but we want to get your information so we can continue to stay in touch with you, everybody. So it's going to be at the beautiful Roofers Local 11 Union Hall in Oak Brook, Illinois. You're going to have union leaders. You're going to have influencers. You're going to have people who are going to answer your questions. This live event is proudly sponsored by the Chicago Federation of Labor, Roofers and Waterproofers Local 11, and Smart Local 265, Megat Financial, and Cisco. Everybody, guess what? Pastor Darius Brooks, you and First Lady Deborah need to come to this party that we're going to have at Rainbow Push. Yes, my mother and all of our girls, we're throwing a party for Halloween. Now, you know what's required, Pastor Brooks? Costumes. Costumes required, donations desired. We're going to have light snacks, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some contests, and we're going to do the Thriller dance. It's going to be from 2 to 7 p.m. on October 28th. I want to see you there at 930 50th Street. Paula, Lorraine, and Mark. Everybody who's in Chicago, and please, I think Yvonne is going to even try and drive or fly in or take the train in from New York. It's going to be big fun. I don't know what I'm going to come dressed as this year, but I cannot wait. And costumes, you must be there. Costumes are required. Donations desired, because we want to, have some nice snicky snacks for you, but it's going to be fantastic. But next week, I want to see you at this Union Strong event brought to you by First WCPT and the Chicago Federation of Labor, Roofers and Waterproofers Local 11, Smart Local 265, Megat Financial, and Cisco. But please go to heartlandsignal.com and get registered. Heartlandsignal.com and get registered. But in the meantime, I've got Pastor Darius Brooks with me today. How you doing, Pastor Brooks? Oops, where's Pastor Brooks? Well, I think I might have lost my signal. Oh, okay. Don't go on mute. Don't do it. Talk to me. Pastor Brooks, you got to come to the party on October 28th. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. From 2 to 7, costumes are required. You got to come in a costume. Donations desired, costumes required. But how can you are also serving food to people throughout the week. So please, very, very quickly, because we're running long this morning. How can we get your food and how can we worship with you on Sunday and then give us the good news?
Great Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois, right off of 290 in Manheim. Every Tuesday from 5 till 7, we serve 8 different townships, and we don't turn no one away. And on Wednesdays, we do singers from noon till 2, so they won't come out in the evening. GreatCentral.net, GreatCentral.net. We give between $200 and $300 worth of food every Tuesday, come hell or high water, as they will say. And our morning services are 10:30 till noon. Morning services are 10:30 till noon. Santita, I like at Great Central to give a word that's relative that you can relate to at home in your personal space and place. I normally don't give a global word or a word just anybody can use, although you can. I personalize God's word so when we leave church that we could literally and figuratively use it in our own homes, uniquely separate as we all go our different ways, and God bless us. Today, I want to talk about a bondage. Today, I want to talk about bondage, Santita. And our focus scripture is Isaiah 10:25 through 27. For yet a little while, and the indignation shall cease, and mine anger and their destruction, and the Lord of hosts shall stir up a scourge for him, according to the slaughter of Midian, at the rock of Arab. And as his rod was upon the sea, so shall he lift up after the manner of Egypt. And it shall come to pass that in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck. And the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. And I want to use for thought today, what's my bondage? What's my bondage? Santita, everybody deals with stuff. We have to be careful with things that are said. We have to be careful with what we hear. And we also got to be careful with our own thoughts, because sometimes our thoughts are so crazy and off the way and in everything, not just home, but church and even God, to the degree that people don't study the Word of God to understand that God doesn't just do good things. God gives details and information for when life comes at us. When life gets a license for real, God will get to God. And that's why we serve him. That's why we worship him for personal places and spaces. I often share with grace that God does more protecting than he does rewarding. So through God's word, it's important learning how to trust his word, being yourself. And you can't try to live your life with someone else. Santita, you just said this a second ago. I love listening to you. When you are who you are, your gift should be what you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be doing what other people or parents say do. I just heard you say this out of your mouth. And I always, when I get on your program, like to hear you say something that confirms my word that somebody can use it. Bondage, bondage, bondage. The pain is on every side, how we deal with bondage. And Santita, bondage can be used as a standalone practice. Santita, bondage is usually two players. It's one who's the dominant and it's one who's the receiver. Bondage is not one size fit all. You have to open up to get into bondage. You have to look at something and receive it and embrace it to get into bondage. Bondage is what's created how to come out of bondage. Because sometimes some of the things we don't even put ourselves in it. We didn't expect it. We don't look at it. We don't see often, Santita. Sometimes we can't see how God does things. Often God permits what he hates to create what he loves. In other words, Santita, sometimes God can do some things in our lives, not that it's bad, but it's already a part of his plan. And when we in this world that we trust him, we just turn that thing over to God. That's our peace. When I do life celebrations at Peter funerals, I share with them all the time, believers don't rest in peace. Believers rest from their labor. Not believers rest in peace. Believers live in peace, using God's word for anything that happened in this world, that he will be a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your pathway. One, how do you get out of bondage? One, realizing it isn't healthy. You're not about it, whatever it is, got to realize it's not healthy for me to carry. Two, to make a decision that something has to change. And three, understand what's holding you back. Name that bondage. There is a difference between accepting and embracing bondage, Santita. I teach this at Grace Center. You people of God, there's a difference in accepting something and embracing something. Accepting something means you could look at that thing and see what it is and say, God bless it. I understand. I accept that that's what that thing is. Embracing something makes it a part of your life. Accept is to invite as a part of. Embrace means to understand a position, but don't let it affect you. As I close, indignation and anger or annoyance is provoked by what is perceived as unfair treatment, and it's all bondage. And when he used the word scourge, Santita, he meant a whip used as an instrument of punishment, manner, or a way in which we think down for things that happen that's not fair. Anointing means there's some information on this thing. What in your life that you simply need information on? Like, although it's something hurting, the real information is there's nothing I can do about that. I can't change it. I can't undo it. And Santita, when you know there's something you really cannot do, this is the anointing. The anointing, people of God, is information, is God's word on your situation. It's not something that hits you from the top of your head to the sole of your feet, as we've been taught in church. The anointing, no. The anointing from God's perspective is information on your situation. That's why he said it destroys the yoke. Santita, if you keep letting something bother you that you cannot change is going to stress you out and kill you. And God says, what information are you using on this? So what is your bondage? What's really going on with you? And one of the good things about God is he's really fair because he gives us a choice. It doesn't matter if my mama died. Santita, I've had so many people in my life die. My little brother just died. My sister just died a week ago. My niece just died. I buried a father. I buried a mother, a brother 6 months after my mother, 2 sisters in the same year. You hear somebody that's talking about some anointing that God's word on my situation gives me my peace, and it separates me or sanctifies me, watch this, from anybody else who's dealing with things, because I need some peace. I want some joy. I want some love. I want some life and it more abundantly. So God gives us principles to utilize to get to those places. As I close, consecrated, having been declared sacred God in your life, is how we utilize his word to get out of bondage. Reverend Jackson has always told me, no ground. The ground is no place for a champion. And God puts it in words like this. What is your bondage? Because whatever it is, your information on it, no matter what, is what's there designed to save you. Unhealthy relationships, get out. Things you can't change, turn it over to God. No, for real. One of my members came to my church, and I'm hard on my members in reference of the word. And somebody had passed away in her church, and she said, Pastor, I ain't trying to hear you. I know you're a word man and all this, but I said, you know what? Take your butt and get out of here. Take your butt out the way. Santita, if God sends us a lifeline, and we don't use his lifeline, that is the only salvation we have to be free.
Well, Pastor Brooks, we have eaten up the time for Dr. Knighton, but I think this is a word that she needed to hear today. I'm going to give her a couple of minutes on the other side. But, we all go through things, and oftentimes the healers are the wounded ones. And I hope that has been helpful to you, Dr. Knighton, today. Is Dr. Knighton still there?
She on mute.
Okay, well, no, let's get her off mute. Everybody stay off mute so I can get right to you, because, I'm going to have to move on to something else. But let us get Dr. Knighton on, because I want to get a word from her. We need to get this health information out here. There's so much that is out here, and she can help us to not get ill, help us to reset that baseline. Let's talk with Jamila Muhammad on the other side, but very, very quickly. I want to hear from Dr. Shanina Knighton when we get on the other side, and then we'll go to Jamila Muhammad so we can hear about other career options that we do have. They exist, everybody. You can make a lot of money in the trades. And when I need my home fixed, I don't need a lawyer. I don't need a doctor. I need someone who is skilled in another area. Back to more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. There is, baby. You can't run that long. I hear you. But I can't.
I just need something to get me out. Yeah.
No. But just remember, it's 5 minutes, or just if you can. I need 22 is a hard out. But where's Dr. Knighton? Is she there?
She left. I can try and get her back.
So please try and get her back, just very quickly, okay?
Will do.
Thank you. Because it's hard for me to get her. And I gotta and I'm about to be on other stations, so my clock is going to get much tighter. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to want you. So you're going to need to really get inside, maybe 3 to 4 minutes. Okay,
yeah,
4 minutes.
Yeah.
No. Just time yourself. Time yourself. Do it for radio, because this is not. Mine will not be the only show that you do. I know. I know it. And so you just have to know. It's just like a song. 3.5 minutes airtime. That's what you're doing. If you're looking for radio, it's the same thing. It's just the same thing. It's just, we're all learning the medium here. We're all learning the medium. But I want you to call her. Anyway, once we get her up, excuse me. I'm trying to get some other things here.
I talked to little Jackie last night.
Oh, really? How she? Well, I saw her not too long ago.
Yeah, she's at your
A couple of
dad.
days ago.
She's
Oh
here.
no, honey, I already know that. I'm saying I just saw her a couple of
Okay.
days ago. I can't see her every day because I'm working. Okay, Santita is working, so I can't see everybody. I know where I know where my sister is. You gotta know I know where my sister is. Come on now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm trying to pull. Oh boy, here we go. We got a lot going on. Anything can become a world conflict. This can become one.
She's not able to do it.
Okay,
but
no, I want her to say hello. I wanted her to speak to Pastor Brooks.
For sure. She just said she wasn't able to.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
But I have your next guest, Jamila Muhammad, ready to go.
Okay, fantastic. Jamila Muhammad.
Good morning, Santita.
Okay, Pastor Brooks. Hey, sweetie, I'm going to give you Pastor Brooks.
Yeah,
I'm going to send you her number right now. Okay.
Okay.
And so, wait. Brooks. I'm going
60 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just call her and just say you wanted to pray with her this morning. Just tell her you wanted to pray with her if that's what she wants.
Yes, please.
Is that Dr. Knighton? Or is that Camilla?
Did I say yes?
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to do this. I sent it to you. Call her, okay?
Okay.
All right, babe. Thank you so much.
I love you. Okay.
I love you very much. You know that. Okay. All right. Thank you, Miss. Are you going to be at this event next week, Camilla? I mean, Jamila. Camilla. Lord, Jamila.
Yeah. What is it? Which one?
The event where that out in Oakbrook.
Stand by.
On what specific day?
It's on the 18th. I'll announce it.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world.
Okay, stand by.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk about our life options. Our life options. Far too often, I'm coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. You know, we look at college as the apex of achievement. That's great, but you know, for some reason, I don't know. I'm really glad that Michael Jackson went another way, and I'm so glad that they ask Duke Ellington? He was asked once how it was that he was able to write so many different kinds of music. Many producers, you can hear them today. You can hear that choo-choo train coming because they have a signature sound, but not Duke Ellington. He said, because I didn't go to university or conservatory to learn that I could not. That having been said, different people have different kinds of gifts, and they're all needed to make the world work. And unfortunately, in the United States, we have de-emphasized vocational training, and we're watching a lot of people come in from out of the country, and they have vocational skills, and they're able to move right into the middle class and upper middle class, and even into wealth. And I don't know about you, but I love HGTV. But it's not a medical channel. It's not for registered nurses and LPNs and physicians assistants. It is a trades channel, as is the Food Network. These are the trades. But when you know, these are real skills that you have to be trained in, you have to hone. And you can, if you have that particular gift, You can also acquire these skills. You can go to school for them and come out without debt, right? Many of us don't know that now. And you can be out of high school a couple of years and start making a very comfortable living. And maybe you'll be able to buy a house. Certainly, you'll be able to rent an apartment of the median charge of which is like $2,000 a month in the United States. So we're bringing Jamila Muhammad back so that we could talk about what is happening in the trades. Of course, on October 18th, we are meeting. I'm joining Joan Esposito. It's going to be a live in-person Union Strong panel on Wednesday, next Wednesday, October 18th. You need to just go on and get registered. It's free, but go to heartlandsignal.com, heartlandsignal.com. Many of you might be looking to do something else. A lot of people now look to get a second or third profession, and they end up doing something that they really, really wanted to do. There's some people going into the trades who come out of the so-called white collar professions because they always wanted to do this, but they were encouraged to go another way. So Wednesday, October 18th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the beautiful Roofers Local 11 Union Hall in Oak Brook at 2021 Swift Drive. It's a fabulous place. I want you to meet us there. You're going to meet union leaders and influencers. You're going to talk to the people at Megan Financial who are going to talk to you about investing your money for retirement, even if you have low income, middle income, working class income, or more. They want to be your financial advisors. So, of course, we had to bring in the Director of Education to Careers in Cisco, the Construction Industry Service Corps, Jamila Muhammad, brilliant young woman. And she has been on this path herself. Jamila Muhammad, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Santita. It's a pleasure to be back.
It is wonderful. So many people look past the trades, even if it's something they really want to do, right? But one of the things that has been surprising to me as I've gotten to know you and as I found out more and more and more about, we're looking at a student debt problem, which it's a $1 trillion problem. And now student loan repayments have resumed. A lot of people have not been able to finish college, or they are not able to buy a home. They're having to stay with their parents. If they're lucky enough to have parents they can stay with. I mean, it's delayed people getting married, having children, or people have just said, you know what, that's not going to happen for me. I can't make enough money. But the trades continue to be open to people. And we see a lot of people from outside of the country, Jamila. And I'm not mad at anybody, because in other places around the world, they understand how important the trades are, and they do not deny their citizens that education. Which brings me to you. Talk to me about the trades, getting an education, and how much it can cost you or not cost you.
Well, first of all, I got in the trades when I was 22 years old. And the beautiful part about it was I had the opportunity to get a free education. You have about 27 different trades that you could possibly go into, from architectural ironworker all the way down to a tuck pointer. They all give you a free education, but they all pay you to receive that education. Now, you'll start off at about $25,000 to $33,000, but the best thing about it is the incentive is you get a raise every 6 months or every few hundred working hours. So by the time you finish up your apprenticeship, you're making about $76,000 to $110,000 a year, and you get the health insurance, pensions, annuities, and even some trades give vacation pay. And these are the things that we need to live a sustainable life.
Say that one more time. You can get your education paid for, and you come out making what? I want it to settle in on people.
Anywhere from $76,000 to $110,000 a year. That's about $48 on the low end $40 on the low end. I'll take $40 on the low end and $52 an hour on the higher end.
Oh my goodness. Why don't we know about this?
I always say that you can't be what you don't see. And I didn't know about the different trades that were out there until my brother actually went in as an electrician as well. So it's the fact that we're now going into these communities even more so, and the trades are diversifying so much that now we're having the opportunity to see women, people of color, Black people, Hispanics, all the different minorities going into these communities, living in these communities, and talking about their professions. And then we pushed college so much, especially in CPS. And when our kids get out of high school, we want them to go to college. We send them off to college. And they say that when you go into the trades, it's because you failed at something. It's because you weren't smart enough to go to college. Not even understanding that not only do you get that college education, but we also expect for you to take everything that you learned from the book and make that work in the real world.
So how does one begin with you? I mean, do we just call you? Do we go to a seminar? I mean, how does this all work? How can you begin to enter this world?
Well, for the youth, that's anybody that's under the age of 18. I typically go to their schools. If their school counselors send me an email, just expressions that they would like an info session. And this is where I would talk about apprenticeship programs, what an apprentice is, which you're a student of the trade, how long apprenticeships are, the wages, the benefits, things like that. I'll come out and I'll speak to them. We also do resource fairs, hands-on fairs. And for the public, we usually have a few fairs throughout the year. You can always go to our website, which is cisco.org, and click on apprenticeship opportunities. It'll tell you all of the different fairs that may be going on at that time, as well as the different apprenticeships that are open and accepting applications at that time. Or you could just call me and have a chat with me. You can always shoot me an email at jamila@cisco.org. That's JAMILLAH@cisco.org. And we can begin to talk about everything apprenticeship.
If you are in a vocational high school, do you have an automatic path to these professions?
No, you don't have an automatic pass because it's not a lot of people that go to vocational schools, and we try to make it as fair as we possibly can. Now, if you take any of those CTE classes like electrical, automotive, wood or carpentry, anything of that sort, I suggest you take any and all of those classes, even if they're offering welding, even if it's one of those trades that you may not want to go into. Just having that hands-on experience, it'll look really, really great on your application when you get ready to apply for a specific trade. But you don't really have to have a construction background to get into the trade. I came from daycare before I got in.
Well, okay. How did you make that transition? I mean, when you presented yourself, what did you have to take a test, or did they give you the side
I
eye?
did.
And how many women do you see moving into this space?
Oh, so it's really funny because I just came from IBW 134. I went on a tour yesterday, and it was an organization called Metropolitan Family Services. They asked me that exact question, and when I started, it was one other female in my class, and it was probably 4 women altogether in my cycle. That's all the classes altogether at that time period. And I stayed until the end of the day, and I've seen at least 10 women coming out and within a 15-minute period. And I was like, oh my God, it's a lot of women here right now at this very moment, and in an array of different colors. Because when I started in my class, there were only 3 of us Black individuals in the class. Of course, I was the only Black female. And
Now, why do you say of course?
yeah.
I mean, are Black women not finding out about this? And what about Hispanic women? I mean, are we not finding out Indigenous women or women are Black women and just women in general? Because, you know, what Black women, Indigenous women, Hispanic women, we make less than everybody. And from what you're telling me,
Yeah.
the salaries in the trades, they put you in the upper income. They put you in the upper bracket in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
70, 80,
it
$100,000 a year,
definitely
3 or
does.
4 years. Nobody makes that coming out of high school. You got to go to graduate school forever, and then you're
Mhm.
saddled with debt.
Mhm. So I say of course because one, they either don't know about it or don't know how to get started into these career paths. And then they get the education and then they join nonprofit organizations like Chicago Women in Trades or Hire 360 where they do the test preparation. But for the vast majority, we still have that stigma that construction is only for men and it's not a woman's job. And I've talked to people on numerous of occasions and I'm like, hey, why don't you go into the trades? You know, no, I can't do that. That's for men. And I'm like, no, it's for you too. Like I'm an electrician by trade. It was awesome. I enjoyed my education. I got a free education. They paid me. My benefits were wonderful. It helped me take care of my children who were 2 and 3 years old at the time. And, you know, it helps you live a wonderful life if that's something that you want. If you don't mind working with your hands, being out in the cold sometimes, working around filth because it's construction, it's dirty. And I think a lot of the times, us as women, we have to kind of get out of that mindset of, you know, this job is for men, these jobs are for women. All of us it's same job, equal pay. And of course, it's a little harder because I did have to learn how to be an electrician, but it wasn't impossible. And I hate to say it, I was very, very good at what I did.
Why do you hate to say it? I mean, did you get any pushback from men or did you get support?
So, of course, at first I got pushed back. And I don't even think that it had anything to do with me, like being a woman, or even a Black person, because it's just, we come into this field and you start your apprenticeship and it's their responsibility to teach you. But if you don't have the desire to learn anything, and it's my job to teach you something, but you don't want to come on time, you don't want to listen, you don't follow direction, you're late, you don't come at all, I'm not going to sit there and waste all of my
you
time.
deserve that one now. I'm sorry.
No. Yes.
No, because if you're not going to put in the work,
I think,
yeah.
Yes, and a lot of times people they hate taking accountability. They just don't want to take accountability for their stuff. And once I got into the field, and then they saying, okay, she come on time. The work is hard. You know, she's really, really trying. She's asking questions. I started being taught, I want to say maybe 6 months into me being a first year apprentice. And by the time I wrapped up my 4th year, I was a foreman. By the time I finished up my apprenticeship, I was running work already. But they started training me to start running work as a 3rd year. And how they did it was my foreman would let me pretend to be the foreman. So I would sit around and tell him what he needed to do and what everybody else needed to do. And he helped me pick up those foreman skills. And then he would give me pointers and tips. And a lot of us, we don't have the opportunity to do that, but I think that is a part of it. It has to be on us. It just has to, because when I make a mistake, I don't mind saying, I really messed this up, or I need to do this better this time. And every time I would leave a job, I would say, okay, how did I do? Was there anything that you think that I could do better? So that way I can be better on the next job. And that's the best question you can ask in any field that you decide to go into, even if it's not construction. Just trying to be a better version of yourself.
So this is something, if you went to a high school, they have career day. Are you invited to a lot of career days?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay.
I go to maybe about 35 a week.
Oh. And what is the response?
I get really, really great feedback. Of course, sometimes they don't really know what an apprenticeship is or why the trades, but after we get into the conversation and I talk about the free education and things like that, I get emails back, I get phone calls back. I have some of my trades will reach out to me and say, hey, this individual said that they came from this school or from this program or this career fair, and we got them from here. So I say that is a pretty good response, of course, because I'm one of those individuals that try to be a better version of myself. I feel like that it would never be enough. Hence is why I do about 35 a week. So I'm still looking for more and more people. I just start getting more so into the website, connecting with different nonprofit organizations. I just got a email not that long ago from the Urban League. And I haven't told them yet, but as soon as I sent the email out, I got about 8 responses letting me know that they'll be coming to that particular event. I'm definitely expecting it to jump up a whole lot more. So I'm always hopeful.
Everybody, have you thought about this particular path? I mean, are you ever too? Is it ever too? Are you ever too old? I mean, are you told like if you're 40, 50, 60, no, we're not going to train you. No, you don't need you. We can't bring you into this program.
No, if you can pass the aptitude test, of course, there's a physical, and that's done third party. It has nothing to do with that organization, that trade. You can get into these trades. We had a woman when I was teaching at IBEW. We had a woman that came through our Jumpstart program, and she was about 65 years old, and she became an apprentice.
65.
So there's, yeah.
What prompted her to come through?
So she was a doctor, believe it or not, prior. And I think some people just have this desire sometimes to like do something different, or they'll say, I always wanted to be a plumber. Or I always wanted to be an electrician.
You know what?
Yeah.
When you get your home and you start working in your house or your condo or your apartment, there's a joy in that. It's just like even one of my dear friends is really thinking about getting a farm because she has taken such joy in her garden. I mean, every year, I mean, her whole backyard has become like farmland. I mean, she grows her tomatoes, her cucumbers. This year she got a couple of watermelons. She is so excited. And she said, I never knew that I enjoyed this much. And I guess I'm really Jamila Muhammad, I'm trying to help people to understand that there's more than one path. And I know, and often, and it does come down to the money. If you could go back over the stat that you gave at the top of the segment, because I'm gonna have you back before the 18th, because
Okay.
to let us know how much just that you can get educated and they pay for it, and the money that you make coming out
Yeah.
of your internship. Please go through that one more time. I only have about 3 minutes left, but I want people to hear this because they need to. People are losing their jobs, and people are
Your
are looking are
apprenticeship is
looking for another path, and I want them to know about this one.
your apprenticeship is 2 to 5 years. You start off making $25,000 to $33,000. That's anywhere from $18 to $26 an hour, and then you get a raise every 6 months or every few hundred working hours. Some trades do every year. You finish up making $76,000 to $110,000 a year. Now there are some trades that's open right now or getting ready to open. IBW 134 is open and accepting applications. That's the electricians. You got operating engineers that's open. They do cranes, heavy equipment technicians, things like that. And the sprinkler fitters is getting ready to open on November 8th and 9th, but they're only taking 500 applicants. So time will be of the essence. So I highly suggest. Last time they opened, they didn't make their 500 applicants. We have to apply for these trades. We do not know what we can do, if we will succeed or if we'll fail, unless we actually get out there and we try. We gotta try.
And you gotta
You gotta have
know.
a valid driver's license. Yes.
What else do you need?
Please go to cisco.org.
Uh-huh.
A valid driver's license.
CISCO.org. Okay.
Yes. And go to apprenticeship opportunities. When you get on there, you're going to see these 3 trades and so many other trades that are open right now and accepting applications, as well as how to apply for those specific trades.
Everybody, this is Jamila Muhammad. She is the Director of Education to Careers at Cisco, which is the Construction Industry Service Corps. There are some opportunities that you need to know are out there for you, not just for your children, for you. A 65-year-old doctor said, I always wanted to do this. I love working with my hands. I love figuring things out, because if you notice, people who work in the trades, after they learn, they have to practice. And after they practice, they're faced with a new challenge every single day. Talk about a mind expanding experience. It's a mind expanding profession. And the only smart people are not physicians, everybody, and lawyers and doctors and preachers. God put genius all over town. Jamila Muhammad, everybody. Cisco, Construction Industry Service Corps. Cisco, CISCO.org. That's why you need to be at this Union Strong panel at 2021 Swift Drive, Oakbrook. Go to heartlandsignal.com and get registered. This next Wednesday from 3 to 5 p.m. Joan Esposito and I will be out there, and we want you to be out there too. Back with more in a minute. What's going on with Steve Scalise? He doesn't have those votes, and we don't have a Speaker of the House. Back in just a minute. Jamila, I want you back on next week before Wednesday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I want you got to let people know what is going on here.
All right. I'll be here as many times as you need me to.
People just don't know. I mean, they don't know they don't even know this exists.
Mm-hmm. We see people out here in our communities working. We just don't know how they got there, And a lot of people, when they think of Cisco, they don't think about the Construction Industry Service Corporation. They think about Cisco Systems, a switch. that
Yeah.
goes in a comm room. You know, even sometimes at my fairs, I get people that just walk right past me. The trades, I have to tell them, like, hey, you need to go to that table right there. She has literally everything. And I advocate for them, and then they help advocate for me. So it's an uphill battle, but I'm ready for the task. I'm ready for it.
Well, you know what? I think it's all. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Really, really excited. And I want you on. Let's say Monday. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do that. Let's do that on Monday.
Mhm.
And let's do that. And let's, because I want you to come on and start pushing, and lead with, an education. We pay for the education. The trades pay for the education. You come out making this, but then you go from every 6 months. But just have that elevator pitch. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, you got it down.
Yeah.
But have that elevator pitch, because people, when they hear that, they go, "Wait a minute, what? I had no idea," and we have no idea. We have no idea,
Mhm.
no idea. And so I want you to, I want you to push it so that people can know.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, people don't know. There's several people who work at this building that I've been going to. My parents have a place over there now because of my father's condition. And I've been telling people about you, and they're like, "Wait a minute, what?" They had no idea. They're like, wait. I mean, and then you have a lot of young men, young black men who work in the building. It's a really nice place. And they're painters, and they're doing all of these trades. They're not in unions. And they don't even, I'm like, whoa, hold on. So I, just to have that elevator pitch and put your number in it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Because you're doing great work, and people need to know about it. They just do. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh no, thank
Yes.
you. And I've been out of touch. I've just been running like a crazy person the last few months.
Oh,
But let's definitely do this.
Too.
Because this
You
is
know, I can't wait to see you in person on the 18th.
Oh, girl, we're gonna have fun. It's gonna be great. It'll be great. Wait a minute, 2 Southside girls out in Oak Brook. Whoop.
That's right.
And not going to the mall.
That's oh my God.
No,
My God. Unless you want to. Unless you twist my arm and take me anyway.
Girl, I think I'm gonna call one of my girlfriends who works at one of these lovely stores out there and tell her, I'm coming. So may I run by? Can you put some shoes for me? Oh.
That's my problem. That's my problem now. When all of these packages hit my front door, everybody in the house gonna be like, what the heck is going on here? I got 2 closets now.
Well, no, that's what happened when you started making all that money. You said, "Oh, you got your baby." You just said it turned you into a nutcase.
You found your real passion.
You said, "Oh, you want just tell ladies y'all can get whatever you want. You can shop."
Hi, Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Right now we have on Dwight McKee, Attorney Fancher, and Reverend Dr. Erie. I'm still working on getting Reverend Wilson.
Okay.
And I'll let you know when and if I get her.
Okay. I'm sorry, what you say,
you
sweetie?
need anything before then? I said, I know you got to get back on.
Yes.
So I'll talk to you Monday, and if you need anything before
2 minutes also.
let me know. I'll be around.
I do, because there's some people who I want you to talk to, and they all work in this building, and they need to know about this path. They're doing the work. They're not getting the benefits.
Definitely.
And then they're not making the money. And that's what needs to happen.
Just let me know. I'll do a house visit if I have to.
Okay.
I'll sit down and talk to them specifically, or just pass them the information. They can look at it and call me once they get off of work, or I can come on a lunch break or something.
Could we talk, say about 8:30 today?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, call me, please, because I want to connect you to this woman who
Okay.
manages this complex. And
Okay.
we're gonna get these young people in there so they can get their benefits and make their money.
Okay.
And I want to put in touch with my Alpha crowd.
No, no, no.
Santita, if you give me
I'll bring
information.
her. I'm gonna bring her around. Because you need to know she's the head. She's the director of education to careers at Cisco, and many of us don't even know that she exists. So I mean, because I want to bring her to the Push Career Day, all that. I want you to know her. I want everybody to know her. And it's not just for me. I mean, I'm talking to young people. They're getting up. They're working. They're painting. They're doing all the work. But
30
they're not
seconds.
getting, thank you so much, but they're not in unions and they have not gotten the formal education that you need to get into the unions. And then you walk and then you're getting paid to go to school. And then you come out of school making 70, 80, 90, 100 plus $1,000 a year. I'm like, wait a minute, what? No, 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 no.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids need to know this. And they're gonna find out. So I have a group of people to deliver you to, and Dwight McKee, I'm introduce you to him. And so, I'm going to reconnect you to Reverend Wilson and to Reverend Haynes, the new head of Push. So, because we need to make sure that
Stand
track
by.
is as vibrant as college. But I am rolling on over. Hello,
We
everybody.
can
This morning,
change
stand
the
by.
world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world. I am
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Let's talk about, we've been talking about the Middle East this week, but something that's come back into the news that is of great import. The U.S. House of Representatives went on recess when they lost their speaker last week, and they reconvened on Tuesday, but they still don't have a speaker. They thought that they had a speaker in Steve Scalise, and of course you heard us talk about him the other week, the representative from Louisiana, who at one point called himself the David Duke without the baggage. Of course, David Duke's former head of the Klan, who mainstreamed himself, moved into American politics, but a Klansman nonetheless. And so now that story has come back to fore. And it turns out that he just doesn't have the votes to become speaker either. They thought they had settled this in a private conference yesterday, but they have not. And so, and people thought that Donald Trump had gotten a black eye because the person he tapped didn't get the necessary votes. He came close, but he didn't. Well, no, people are holding out. And some people even using this as the reason. I heard a Republican say, I'm not going to have someone who said that they were David Duke without the baggage be my speaker. Not. So this is a really interesting and complex moment in which we find ourselves, particularly as Ukraine is saying, hey, I need your money. We need more aid. There's pushback in the House against that. And from the American public, and Israel says we need more military assistance. Well, all of that has to come through the House of Representatives. But the House of Representatives cannot conduct any business because they don't have a speaker. So effectively, one branch of our government, we have the judiciary, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is head of that. You have the executive branch. President of the United States is head of that. The head of the legislative branch is the Speaker of the House. We do not have a Speaker of the House. So they cannot conduct any business. And I promise you, the people in the House, they work hard. They work hard every day. But there's a lot of frustration because they can't conduct any business. So I want you to call me and tell me what your thoughts are at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and let's have at it. Let's get right to it. In the meantime, let's get to some of these headlines. A humanitarian crisis is unfolding in the Gaza Strip. Food, water, medicine, and fuel are running out in the blockaded Palestinian territory. Let us be mindful of the fact that to block the Palestinians from getting food, water, and medicine as Israel has done. That is a war crime, everybody. And so Israel strikes. Israel strikes have killed at least 1,350 people, according to this Washington Post report. The death toll from Hamas's attack is at least 1,300. There is pain on every side, everybody. Israel has massed troops near Gaza ahead of an expected ground assault. In the meantime, a top U.S. legislator, indeed Republican Michael McCall, the chairman of the powerful U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee, said the following after an intelligence briefing. He said, quote, "We know that Egypt warned the Israelis 3 days prior to this event that this could happen." He added, "I don't want to get too much into classified details, but a warning was given. I think the question was at what level." He said this after an intelligence briefing. What do you think about that? And then this news. It turns out that when Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, was at the UNGA, the UN General Assembly, when he made his presentation, many of us did not hear this report. He showed a map of the new Middle East. Just one thing, what was missing was Palestine. Wow. And many people got upset about that. That did not receive a lot of play, but that is what happened. That is what happened. And indeed, one of his ministers said that there's no such thing as a Palestinian. That, when you have those issues, that's when you have these kinds of conflicts. House Republicans picked a nominee for the House Speaker, the Representative Steve Scalise, but he does not have enough votes. He's not been able to secure the gavel. Want to know what you think about that? What do you think should happen? Should they just bring in Kevin McCarthy, who was able to pull together 218 votes? Call me at 773-763-9278. The UAW expanded its strike to hit the biggest Ford factory in the world. The Louisville plant makes up about one-sixth of Ford's annual global sales. An additional 8,700 auto workers walked off the job yesterday. Ford, they said, refused to make further movement, so they are not going to work. 33,700 auto workers are on strike against the big three automakers. Indeed, it is a slow rollout. California is banning 4 additives used in thousands of products, and you need to know what they are so you can watch out for them in your foods. Red dye number 3, bromated vegetable oil, potassium bromate, and propylparaben. They're found in some candy, baked goods, frostings, and other products. They have been linked to cancer, hyperactivity in children, and they are restricted in other countries. California's ban, which starts in 2027, is the first in the nation. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 59 degrees. It has already been raining. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 57 degrees, partly cloudy. In Major League Baseball, we are in the playoffs. The Phillies lead their series over Atlanta 2-1. They bested them 10-2 yesterday. The Astros won their series yesterday 3-2 over the Twins. Better luck, Twins, but you had a great run this year. The Diamondbacks, well, they won their series over the Dodgers 4-2. And today, the Phillies will be playing Atlanta in the WNBA. The Aces lead in their championship series 2-0. They, had quite a game yesterday against Liberty, 104-76. And tonight, we're going to get some football. The Broncos versus Kansas City. I hope to see you in Oak Brook next week, everybody. It's going to be a fantastic event. We just talked to Jamila Muhammad about these tremendous career opportunities that many of us do not know about. She's going to be back on next week. Of course, she's the director of education for Cisco. You can come out of high school, get an education in the trades. They pay for it. They pay for you to intern, and within a couple of years, within a year or so, you can be making more than $100,000 a year. Did you know that that is an option? People are actually going back to that for a second profession. When you get your home, sometimes you see people who want to make improvements in their home. Well, you need to learn about those things. And these are real professions. Genius has been deposited all over town. So I want you to come join Joan Esposito and I at this Union Strong panel on the trades and on unions, on the benefits of being in unions and on the benefits of the trades. It's Wednesday, October 18th at 2021 Swift Drive in Oak Brook. It's at the beautiful Roofers Local 11 Union Hall in Oak Brook, Illinois. Go to the heartlandsignal.com and get registered. Heartlandsignal.com and get registered. We just need you to get registered. It's free. but get registered. And we want you to be out there so that you can have some options. Many people are looking for that second or that third career or a way to really get your leg up into the middle class. Well, the trades are a real pathway, everybody. So join us at the Beautiful Workers Local 11 Union Hall in Oak Brook at 2021 Swift Drive. You're going to see union leaders, influencers. They'll be discussing the dollars and cents of unions and plans to build a strong workforce in the future of which you should be part. Tickets are free, but registration again is at heartlandsignal.com. It's sponsored by Chicago Federation of Labor, Roofers and Waterproofers, Local 11 Smart, Local 265, Megget Financial. They'll show you how to invest your money, whether you are working class or middle class. That's right. They want to be your financial advisors. And of course, Cisco. And on October 28th, I am going to be joining with some lovely ladies to have a Halloween party. Costumes required, donations desired, as my mother put it. We're going to have some nice snacks. It's going to be fun. You're going to do the thriller dance, but you got to wear a costume at 930 East 50th Street at the Rainbow Push headquarters. I don't know what I'm going to go as. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have fun, everybody. We're going to have black trivia, celebrity trivia, snacks. Everybody is welcome. 930 East 50th Street from 2 to 7 p.m. on October 28th. Be there, everybody. Be there. It's going to be great. Let's talk about what's happening with the U.S. House of Representatives, particularly as we are watching the intersection between the needs that Israel and Ukraine have. Well, the only way they can get this, aside from some executive order from the president, which would get him into some political difficulty, you have to go through the House. Problem is, the House cannot conduct any business without a speaker. And the Republicans, for their portion, said, okay, we're going to meet privately, caucus privately, and we're going to amass the votes. And so it came down to Steve Jordan of Ohio and Steve Scalise, who is the majority leader. So he is actually Leader Scalise in the House of Representatives. And President Trump said, I like Mr. Jordan. And Steve Scalise is someone who has been allied with Kevin McCarthy. Well, he thought he kind of had the gavel. Turns out he doesn't. He does not have it. And so we want to know where we're going to go from here, because we effectively have a branch of government that does not have a head. How's that supposed to work? How is that supposed to work? And how are they going to work this out? Indeed, one of the Republican members was seen. She said, I will never vote for Steve Scalise. I am not going to vote for a man who said that he was David Duke without the baggage. So that story that I brought to you last week is now gaining new life. How will he work with this? And many people thought that this was going to be a black eye against Donald Trump because his guy didn't win. Is that really what happened here? We've got Dwight McKee, brilliant social scientist, the dean of the Ma'afa Redemption Project. We've got Reverend Dr. Todd Geary from the national leadership team of Rainbow Push, senior pastor at Douglas Memorial Community Church, and of course, brilliant lawyer and author from the National Conference of Black Lawyers. We have attorney Mark Fancher, brilliant civil libertarian as well. Let me start with you, Reverend Dr. Geary. What do you make of this? He thought everybody, they were reporting that he had this locked up, and it turns out not at all. He does not have it locked up at all. And we still do not have a speaker, and it doesn't look like we're going to have one by the end of the day. In fact, they canceled the votes for today. Reverend Dr. Geary.
Well, good morning, Santita, and to my colleagues. Let's call it Circus 2.0. The circus has returned to town. The dysfunction of the Republican Party is back on full display. What they actually achieved was coming away with which name they would put forth, and in this instance, I would argue put forth first, because then it's going to be a battle of attrition to figure out how do you get enough votes. The entire Democratic caucus is a no, and so you have to get one more vote than the number of Democratic no votes that are present in the chamber in order to elect the speaker. And that's where they're going to have to do their bartering. Do they come away with a negotiation around certain rules that are maybe even worse than the ones we saw with Kevin McCarthy? And so it's really kind of hard to tell where the votes are going to line up. You are right. There is no business that the House can actually take up while there's no speaker, no leader, you actually have a caretaker and speaker pro tem, and he just basically keeps the lights on and the operations going. The challenge here is that when it comes to the spending of money, not just the appropriations of military aid, where, as you mentioned, is great great pressure now to try to fund two wars. In addition to making sure you take care of all of the domestic issues. Remember, we did not have a budget. We've got a continuing resolution that kept the government open. And so you're in a countdown to another government shutdown. And there's not a whole lot of conversation about what kind of funding is going to go to the cabinet level offices, particularly the ones that affect the interests of those who don't have enough resources. We often call them poor people, but they're not all, some of them working poor. They just don't have enough to make ends meet. That's agriculture. That's going to be health and human services when we start looking at the healthcare side. That's education when we start looking at the flow of Title I dollars. Those are the issues that are going to be really germane. And so while we're watching this intrigue around who are they going to pick, the rest of us are just kind of saying pick somebody, because you really don't have anybody that's going to be able to rise to the occasion to do the kind of leadership that you're going to need from the speaker, because you're going to have to negotiate with the other side. What you basically have seen is a rogue faction hold the chamber absolutely hostage, and it's going to begin to constrain the interest of the rest of us, because not only will they not be able to figure out what war funding is going to look like, they're going to run out of things later.
Dwight McKee, what are your thoughts?
Well, I see it as a lost opportunity. I don't understand why the Democrats never had a strategy to deal with this. It seemed to me it would have made more sense for them to keep McCarthy, or kept McCarthy there, and barter with him and take the power out of the far right's hands, neutralize them, which they could have done with 10 votes, and begin to negotiate, on their own with McCarthy so they could have a functional government. This hardline approach by the Democrats, where they are, all of them are locked in lockstep, not to support anybody on the Republican side, only leaves the hard right to negotiate, and they're going to negotiate in such a way as to take the government further to the right. And so I really don't understand the strategy or the logic of the Democrats on this.
Do you think part of what I've been hearing, and not just from Congressman Jackson, but from some other congresspersons I know, that McCarthy was just so untrustworthy that, you set up a deal with him and then he said everything to everybody. And there is a lot of mistrust on both sides of McCarthy. Even with that, you think you could cut a deal with him, even though you don't know if he's going to live up to the deal?
Well, he's untrustworthy, but Jordan and the other guy still, what's his name?
Oh, Jim Jordan and Scalise. And
Scalise they are trustworthy. They are trustworthy. They're trustworthy to be as hard-nosed, particularly Scalise, to be as hard-nosed and to be as right-wing as one can be. So at least there was some give and take with McCarthy, even though he wasn't trustworthy. There was some give and take because he at least had cut a deal with Biden on the budget, even though he reneged on some of the issues, specific issues. He did cut a general deal with him, which is why they took him out. Whereas some of these other guys are so far to the right and locked ideologically and politically to the right that you can trust them to be an extreme. And so, given those choices, it's a choice between two evils, but at least you have more leverage with one evil than you do with the other, in my opinion.
Mark Fancher, what are your thoughts?
Well, sometimes out of destruction and great pain come good things. And I'm actually kind of happy to see all of this. because as anybody who knows me knows, I welcome the day when both the Republican and the Democratic parties, self-destruct or are destroyed by the masses of people in this country. And, I think that the Republican Party has been disintegrating, and it continues to do so. And because of that, I don't know that the Congress has been in recent years a place where anybody could look to as a place where you can actually accomplish anything of any great value or make anything happen that's worthwhile because of the extremism that exists. It's not a place where a lot of our energy should be focused or much of our attention. If it's burning, let it burn. And I think that it's a different time. Back when I was a young man, when I was in college and thereabouts in the 1970s, the Congress had some possibilities. I mean, I think that we were all, so proud of the Congressional Black Caucus then, when it was populated by people like Ron Dellums and John Conyers and Perrin Mitchell, and we could go on down the line.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason that they were, there were only a few of them, 16, 17, 18 of them at the time. But the reason that they were so influential and the reason that they had possibilities for successes and victories is that they were dealing with a different class of Republican, different kind of people, a different type of conservatism than what we see now. I mean, at that time, I used to despise William Buckley, for his ideas and his outlook on life and things like that. But, in looking back on him, I have a different level of appreciation for who he was and the kind of conservatism that he represented. Even when he dealt with your dad, in interviews on TV and things like that, even though they differed wildly in terms of their perspectives and their viewpoints, you could see that Buckley was at least being intellectually honest. And when Reverend Jackson would say something that he agreed with, he would acknowledge it and say, I really agree with that. I respect that. And at the end of the day, they would part company and they would agree to disagree on things, but they respected each other. And I think that that was the kind of relationship that existed in Congress between the then Republican Party and people who were progressive in the Democratic Party, like the Congressional Black Caucus, so that the most unlikely of allies could come together and actually accomplish some things. Now we have Republicans like Scalise who, confess to being David Duke without the baggage. And he's not just the only one. He's the only one that admits it.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are like that. And how can you do business with people like that? So I say, let the house burn. Let it burn to the ground, and let's rebuild something different.
Call us at 773-763 WCPT 773-763-9278. I want to know what your thoughts are. We still don't have a Speaker of the House. And the person who looked like he was going to become the Speaker of the House years ago said, hey, I'm the David Duke without the baggage. They come from the same congressional district. Whew. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And things were different. And thank you for bringing that up, Attorney Rock Prancher, because I remember in 1982, Bill Buckley came to our Operation Push convention, and he did a special firing line from our convention in South Carolina. There was a healthy respect, particularly if people felt that, you could have a real intellectual discussion. That's what we used to have. But something changed. Something changed. And it's not good. We still don't have a Speaker of the House. What do you think is going to happen? Should these Republicans kind of deal with the Democrats so we can get on about the people's business? What do you think? 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute. Ooh. Everybody call in at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Want to know what your thoughts are this morning? What your thoughts are? Call at 773-763-9278. Do you think that the Democrats uh, should be open to a deal? Should the Republicans, they cannot pull these votes together on their side? All they need are a few Democratic votes. And I think some Republicans are frustrated enough to say, look, let's just work this out. Because you can't conduct any House business, everybody, without a Speaker of the House. There is no head. Ugh, unbelievable. And now, Dwight, some people have, and Todd and Mark, people are furious with Matt Gaetz. They said, look at what you have done. Well, what do you think about that, Dwight? Do you think Matt Gaetz was right?
I think he was right for himself. I think he accomplished what he was trying to accomplish. Oh, he has different interests than our interest, of course. But it was a good political move on his part, and it made him a player. I would like to see some of the guys on the Democratic side be as resolute and as emphatic in their positions and force Biden to make decisions in behalf of the poor and the working class and make that unnegotiable, like Gates made his unnegotiable. So I think, it was the right thing for him to do for who he is and where he's trying to go. It was horrible for us. But again, we need to bring balance to that. We need to bring people who are as resolute about their positions on the left as he is on the right.
Everybody, what do you think? Call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT, and call in. Osa and Chaparral, would you all call in? I'd love to hear what you all do. You all are going back and forth right here. I'd love to hear this out loud.
2 minutes.
Call us at 773-763-9278. Well, what say you? What do you think is going to happen, Todd? I mean, we can speak to this on the air, but we're talking to our listeners here.
Well, I mean, you're gonna. I think as Mark Fancher has said, you're going to continue to watch the implosion of the Republican Party. I think there are a couple of things that you got. You mentioned the former president and his endorsement of Jim Jordan. I think you are seeing at the same time there's a fight over who's going to be a speaker. I think there's also this effort to try to disentangle some of the Republican Party from the oversized influence of the former president. Because if this is a replay of what happened to Kevin McCarthy, then it's only a matter of time, particularly around the budget. Remember, it was the continuing resolution that sent Matt Gaetz to feel justified to move to vacate the chair. If that rule remains, that's November 25th. I think it's right after Thanksgiving that you run out of funding for the federal government again. And so either you're going to need to pass budgets or you're going to need to do a continuing resolution. If that was the trigger the last time, there's nothing to say that that won't be the trigger again, and you'll be right back in this place just before Christmas. And so I think it really is to kind of see who emerges. I do take a little bit of a different take on it than Big Brother Dwight. And I think Hakeem's thought and the caucus's thought was, why save a guy that is not amenable to negotiation?
Stand by.
That this whole issue was about you dig a line in the sand, and the reason he was forced into doing something was because
Hold on.
We can change the world. We can change the world. Change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
To a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Call me at 773-763-9278. You got me texting Karen, Osa, and Chaparral. You all have been going back and forth at it. And I'm going to say to you on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and on my YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show. Uh, Let me share this with you. I see you all going back and forth, and I hear you. But I need all of you. I need Osa. I need Karen. I need Chaparral. I need all of you here. We need each other, and we need to be able to engage in a meaningful dialogue. And there's nothing wrong with being with disagreeing, but there is something wrong when we're disagreeable. But sometimes we're human. I mean, we're always human, but sometimes, as human beings, we get disagreeable. But hug it out. But hug it out. Let's not speak to each other in some menacing way. Don't do that. I think the three of you in particular have an opportunity to show people how to disagree without being disagreeable. And so use the opportunity. Use it. Don't step away from the chat and all of that. I want you to let's elevate this. You can't hug a computer. I hear you, Chaparral. But let's do this differently. Let's do this differently. Let's do it differently. Come on, everybody. Let's move forward. Let me go to Dynamo Dave. Dynamo Dave, what's on your mind, sweetie?
Oh, how's the sweet sunshine of Chicago doing, and her esteemed panel?
Oh, you wonderful, wonderful man, you. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Hey, the last guy that spoke, I'm sorry, I have trouble with names on the radio, but talking about the let Congress burn down. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, the word progressive way back in the day, those people sought, peace. Remember Representative Dennis Kucinich when he ran for president?
Oh, yes.
He said, I'm going to have a Department of Peace. If I make it, I'll have a Department of Peace. And it's like Joe Biden, there's not a war that he's never endorsed if if there was a momentum for it. And I'm afraid that this thing, back to like AOC making a comment that, the Democratic Party is working like Congress is working like a old machine, at least on the representative side. And it's like, wait a minute, that means that there's no dissent going on. That's like having fascism, And then the corporate media, they refer to these people like Gates, maggots, but actually they're reactionary Republicans. We always call them right wing, but hard right wing, but actually they're truly reactionary. This guy who says he was, about him being a Klan, David Duke without the whatever.
Without the baggage.
I mean, that right there, there's a reactionary fellow right there. They should just, why don't they they give the slogan a spade, in the corporate media, and we do it on your programs as well.
Let me go to Shirley. Shirley, what's on your mind today?
I'm calling. Oh, good morning to you, first of all.
Good morning.
And I'm calling with regard to this obvious rift in the Republican-Democrat idea. Mm-hmm. And I have quite a few Republican friends, and our conflict was part of it. But what I began to do was to highlight that it's not the Republican Party that I grew up with. This is a MAGA party. And the MAGA party has absorbed the concept, the identity of being Republican. And so what I do is I try to talk to them and separate the ideas. And I talk to them about our ideas. What's your goal? This is my goal. See, we're not so far apart. It's just that we need the right wing and the left wing of democracy to fly straight. And the MAGA party is a ballast that swings the whole thing out. And so if we could begin to introduce the concept of MAGA party being separate from Republicans, because they're very proud people and they're hard to say, and not, this is a general statement and it's not applied to everyone, there's always the exception. But if they could absorb the idea that a MAGA party of violence, disruption, separation, all the words, if they could absorb that, they'd have a doorway away from that and still be Republicans. And maybe they can reshape the Republican Party to something that isn't as radical as what the MAGA believers claim the Republicans to be. So that's the approach I've been taking with people.
Well, Miss
and
Shirley,
it worked.
let me ask you this. Do you get along with your
Yeah.
Republican friends? I mean, just are you able to talk to them? I mean, they're your friends, right? So,
Well,
political disagreements aside, you're able to get along, right?
for the most part, I do come in with some rough edged people. I work with the public. I do body work. I'm a massage therapist, so people come in here and they become softer to begin with because they're not here for conflict. But sometimes the topic comes up, and I've got some very staunch Republican people, and at the end of it, sometimes they get real high voiced and loud, and I do the calming thing that you can believe what you believe and I believe what I believe. It's not a problem, and they calm down and it goes off. I've only had a couple Republican friends, or that are more what I would call the MAGA, with many guns in their house and violent rhetoric and all sorts of just the whole thing. And I just disconnect from them simply because some people you can't change. And I just don't enjoy, I can't close that door with me in the room. So I close the door, leave that there, and I keep going because you can't switch everybody. But the thing is that isn't, to me, it's obvious how many people they probably, maybe weren't even politically involved until they had that opportunity to become a MAGA person. They didn't belong anywhere. And now they belong somewhere, a place of violence, disrespect, heavy rhetoric, aggressive action, separation, all of it. And now they feel happy. The invisible they, but they cluster. And the other good thing is that as that MAGA section clusters, we can see them. When they're like, and now we can see them. But if we could somehow reclaim, even the Democrats, to reclaim the Republican Party, so that we can, it's like a mother-father dialogue. You need that.
You know what, Miss Shirley? Stay right there a minute, because I'm seeing a hardening on both sides that I think is very, very dangerous. Now you've seen Cornel West didn't even bother running as a Democrat, and I think he would have added so much to the discussion. And you've driven, and not you, but one of the iconic scions of our party has been pushed out the party if he wants to run for president. And it's undemocratic, and it really hurts the republic for all of us to be behaving this way, Miss Shirley. I mean, it's just like, wait a minute. No one is talking to each other. I mean, they're talking at each other. This is something I'm trying to resolve here today on this chat line. Shapiro, Osa, and Karen, stop. Let me just say this. Stop. I know Shapiro because Shapiro calls in. I've asked you to call in, Karen. I've invited you to call in. Osa, you can do that to me too. And I'm just saying enough of this. I mean, you all can disagree without being disagreeable. I mean, you disagree. That's all it is. I mean, I've seen, my parents have been together 62 years. They disagree about a lot of things, and they move on, and they have 5 kids, and they have raised a family, and we keep on going. And maybe that's part of my training. And then my brothers and I, and my sister and I, we disagree about some things. And you know what? And we keep on loving and keep on growing and moving on. And on and on. And my nieces and nephews, who are now adults for the most part. I mean, next, stop it. Stop what you're doing today. Just stop. Just go. Now let's move on. Let's move forward. I mean, and we're not doing that. I mean, I've seen my brother really make an effort, Ms. Shirley, in Congress to talk to everybody. And he's gotten some really, wonderful acquaintanceships and friendships out of it too, with some folks who are way away from him politically. But you got to try. You got to talk to people, and you have to respect them, even when because he'll tell me about sometimes they will come out of a bag on him, and he was like, "Where did this come from? how do we go from talking about the budget to you telling me that there are no black fathers in the black community? I'm like, are you for real?
And guess what? There are a lot of missing white fathers in the white neighborhoods, and very affluent fathers checking out and leaving their wives with the kids and no resources. In fact, that's happened to me. And it's yeah. But it happened. It happened.
Okay.
But the point isn't that. The point is, that's one of the quick sidetracks that someone will throw at you to get you off the need for us to find our balance again as a country. It's just getting so tipsy, and we're supposed to be the example of democracy in the world. And as our democracy rattles, the whole world's does rattle. We're seeing little pieces of it. And everybody at the end is going to say, "Oh, I didn't do it. I tried." No, you didn't. You fought. You instilled fight, hostility, resistance. You didn't try. You didn't find a common ground, because a common ground would call. It doesn't have to bring resolve, but it brings an environment to create resolve.
Well, to that point, do you think that the Republicans need to cut a deal with the Democrats so we can get a Speaker of the House?
Oh, well, we're working with
Shirley, what did you just say? Hold on, stay right there. Dwight, did you hear what Miss Shirley said? Stay, don't leave, Shirley. That was rich. She said, "Oh." Dwight, speak to Miss Shirley.
Politics makes strange bedfellows.
That's all I could think of. It was like, oh my God.
I thought she was going to pass out. You still with me, Shirley? You have your smelling salts?
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
This ain't the prom. This ain't the prom.
Unless it's the night of the living dead prom, then it might work. All the boys and ghouls are out.
Oh, you a good one, Shirley. You a good one. So, Shirley, what do you want to see happen in Washington? We don't have a head of the house. We can't do any business, Shirley. We can't do anything.
Yes. Well, we have never been in this place before.
Ever.
It's going to take creative thinking. It's going to think outside. You can't follow the regular roads in or out. So there has to be a savvy voice. It's not mine, but a savvy of someone who's interested in a collective thought, someone who's interested in representing the people again instead of their own interests. The White House has become a closed door, closed club. It doesn't include people on the street anymore or people in the neighborhood. It's just become a wasp nest. And so I really don't know who our person is going to be, but somebody has to step in there and say, "Whoa, stop. Listen to the people. What are we?" And not just the MAGA people, the other people too, the other people like me and you and everyone listening. I've been in the background of politics by simply being a citizen, thinking that we're going to go ahead and have a pleasant democracy and a wonderful place to live forever, naively, because I never expected this, and I never expected that the new head of the Republican Party to show up from TV. I never expected that, but we got it. So now we have it. Now we have a MAGA party, a Republican Party, and a Democratic Party. So
a Democratic Party that's not allowing everybody to run. That's crazy too.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
It is. It should be a whole thing. But how do we separate the MAGA thinker, that MAGA thought form that interrupts, that's rude, that's racist, that's heavy opinion, no opinion other than my opinion? What do we do with a narcissistic session?
Well, first of all, acknowledge that they exist in both parties. And oftentimes, we've become that. And start here. Take yourself out of the background of politics. You're not in the background, you're in the foreground. It's we the people.
Yes.
We're it.
But you need to understand when you do that, Miss Shirley. Miss Shirley, what you need to understand when you do that Mitt Romney is out, Liz Cheney is out, Bush is out. This is not the Republicans that we understand them to be, and so we have to make. Everybody has to make adjustments because you're dealing with a new reality. So you can't keep putting new wine in old skins. You really have to make that adjustment one way or another. Otherwise, the whole country and the government is going to just collapse on its implode upon itself.
You know, because Miss Shirley, I'm gonna bring in. Stay right there. I'm gonna bring in Chaparral because we're living in times in which we have not lived. It's no longer a unipolar world where it's America versus everybody else, or it's America who's sitting on top of everybody else. No. The global South, the former colonized nations, have become economic superpowers. So that's a new reality for all of us. That's a new reality for our Congress. It's just that we have to deal with some new realities. Chaparral, what's on your mind today?
Good morning, Santita. Thank you so much for taking my call. Because I'm a real person, but I digress.
Sure, but no. But Chaparral, let's not pick on people because I've seen you and Osa and Karen going at it today, and everybody just stop. You know, and at some point, you know, we ought to be able to kid and laugh with each other. But I want to know what was your point that you were going to be making today?
Basically, I think that the Republican Party needs to look outside of Congress. Ironically, I don't think anybody. I don't think that anybody is going to get enough votes and from the Republican Party. You know, I never thought I would actually say that, but I would like, you know, to even consider Paul Ryan or Boehner again. I never thought I would ever say that because I hated them when they were in office. But the party that they have in place right now and the candidates, it's scary. And so when we think about Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise, you know, I can't even imagine them being, you know, a couple of heartbeats away from being president of the United States. So we have to really seriously consider, I'm hoping that the Republican Party will seriously consider someone on the outside for this position that they could actually get enough votes for. I do agree with Dwight, but the decision has already been made. It's done. What do we do now? We know that we are less than, a month away from an economic shutdown, as well as also we have this escalating war in Ukraine and now Israel. So what do we do? You know, so we're making ourselves very vulnerable because the Republican Party cannot make a decision on its leader. And so right now I feel like we're open to be attacked because we're so vulnerable because none of our house is in order. So I'm concerned about a lot of things. So at this point, I think that they need to look at somebody on the outside. Hopefully it's not Trump.
I was going to go to you, Mark. Mark?
Yeah, I think that we can't lose sight of the danger of trying to fix what I think we all are trying to fix. You know, it is the institutions of the Democratic and Republican parties, which are just, the instruments of the capitalist system, which have gotten us to this place in the first place. You know, the capitalist system has devastated everybody in this country, and it has caused people to become poor. It has caused people to become alienated. It has caused people to become disoriented and angry and hateful and full of, notions of vengeance. And that is what gave birth to the sentiment that led to the creation of the whole MAGA phenomenon. So these parties have only served to perpetuate that. And our efforts to try and rehabilitate these parties and to rehabilitate the system that they function in is a path to destruction. If they were able to put somebody in the speaker's position and they were able to resume doing business, look at the business that they're going to do. They're going to send more money into Ukraine to continue a war that's destroying everybody rather than pursuing a path of peace. Having imperialists do something that they will never do, which is to say NATO is going to stop trying to expand into Russian territory and its perimeter. And we're going to work out a way to peace. We're not going to continue to fund a war. The business that they will continue to do is to send money to Israel, which will use that money to commit war crimes against the Palestinian people. So the business of the House, the business of the Congress is destructive business that we're better off with them being dysfunctional. We're better off with them not being able to function really. And I think that for those who are really serious and really concerned about trying to build a society, to build a world that is just, that we'll look in a totally different direction. We'll focus our energies elsewhere and let the Congress burn.
Reverend Dr. Yeri, your thoughts? Got a couple minutes before we're
whether
out.
we let it burn or not, the house is on fire. We know that.
The house is on fire.
Unfortunately, to Mark Fancher's point, the way you rebuild something is called elections. Elections are on the calendar, so then tomorrow you got to figure out what you're going to do in the meantime, and can you absorb the shock and the harm of what just this dysfunction will do to, and I think Mark is using the right term, to the oppressed. Those who don't have enough to make ends meet. We've got housing issues, we've got food issues, we've got health issues, we've got education issues, we've got public safety issues, we've got access to capital issues that must be addressed now. And so unless we're going to say we're okay with the current state of things for the oppressed remaining as they are while we do this rebuild, then I think that's fine. But I think at the same time, we have to wrestle with the messiness of government, right? It is the hand. How did we end up here? We ended up here because of gerrymandering. We ended up here because of the gaming of the census process under the last administration. We ended up here because we got so focused by the big shiny thing at the top that we thought electing Biden president was going to take care of everything down ballot. We've got state issues, on and on and on. This is really a call to the revolt of the political class of people called citizens. Everybody's got to be ready to get engaged. Everybody's got to be clear on what they need to do. Everybody's got to be clear on who they're going to vote for. And while we're watching the intrigue of whether it's going to be Scalise or not, or whether it's going to be somebody else or not, there's not anybody in the Republican caucus right now. And I think Chappelle is right on this regard. Maybe they do need to look outside, but what that's going to require is the same thing they can't do looking inside. And that's find a consensus candidate that they're going to be able to vote for so they can get back to the business, so that the people can then use their voices to determine who's going to handle their business when we get to the next election. Right now, this is the hand we got. Can we play this hand in a way that positions us to do the rebuilding that Mark is talking about? Otherwise, we are just going to sit here and watch the fire burn out of control.
Yeah, I say rebuild with revolution, not elections. Rebuild with revolution, not elections. The government is shot. The capitalist system is shot. Needs to be destroyed.
You got to define that. You can't use it as a thing. We got to have a plan.
Everybody, hold that thought. I'm going to get on the other side on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I got to get out of here. But you don't. You can stay with us on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I think Shirley and Chappelle is still here. I love you, everybody. I'll see you at 930 50th Street on October 28th. The Rainbow Push. Costumes required. Donations desired. Halloween party. Who are you going to come as? And then October 18th, heartlandsignal.com. Let's meet our unions and see how you can become a part of the trades and begin to make some money. Okay, we'll be with you on the Santita Jackson Show. See you tomorrow. I'm sorry, you were making your point, Reverend Dr. Yeri?
Well, it wasn't so much a point. I agree when we talk about revolution, but revolution, if it's not framed in terms of what does that look like and where do I fit in this revolutionary moment, it becomes too abstract of a concept for folks to really be able to take action. And so the mechanism by which you participate in the revolt has to be clear for folks so that folks know, how do I become a revolutionary? For some folks, revolution was January the 6th. We saw where that got us. It did not all it did was kind of fuel this notion that you can have a relatively small group overall, right? You got a big military, but then you have this overtaking of the actual Capitol building. Then now you have that same kind of mindset inside the Congress. Forget what's going on necessarily inside the Republican Party. What we've seen happen from the MAGA side is it's actually disrupted the entire House of Representatives, and they can't even if there were to be a bill. So if there's a House bill that's already passed the House, that's got an appropriation in it, it's on the Senate side, the Senate can amend the bill to make some additions on the expenditure side, but then it's got to go back to the House. Because there's no speaker, there's no officiant to be able to take that bill back up. And so you can't get to conference. You can't decide if you're going to take it up. That's where I think we've got to deal with the immediacy of it. I think the revolution that Mark is talking about, all for it, that's long term. Right now, we got to have an answer to what are the short term crisis needs, because there are a lot of folks hurting. And you hear the frustration. You see it playing out in the conversations that folks are having because they're fed up and no one's really saying to them, this is where I'm going to find the resources I need to address my issue.
Well, Mark, what does the revolution look like? Make it real. Because the revolution to me, embedded in that word is revolt. And I think Americans are doing that. I think Americans are revolting. Want to know how can we do it creatively? What does it look like?
Let me preface the answer to that by saying that if I'm thirsty and I want water and I go to a well and the water has played out, the well is dry, there is no prospect of water coming back into that well, I may sit there and wish that there is water in that well. I may sit there and wait and try and dig a little bit more and hope that there's water, but the water is not coming back. The well has played out, and it's not intelligent to continue looking to that well for water. And that is the country that we live in. The system is dry. It has run out of water. The capitalist system is bankrupt. The political system is bankrupt. We may wish that it wasn't. We may know that we may reflect on times in the past when there was water in the well and when the system was producing, but it's not anymore, and it won't. And the longer that we continue to just spend our energy trying to dig in this dry well and trying to get results, the more we're wasting time, the more we're causing people to die, the more we're causing people to suffer. We need to start digging a new well. And revolution does not necessarily mean taking up arms and charging the buildings that constitute a state, whatever that may mean. It doesn't mean guerrilla warfare necessarily. But what it does mean is reimagining completely and entirely the society that we live in, trying to reconstruct something that rests on fundamentally just principles, building something that addresses all of the problems that were caused by what we had, and then making sure that this new thing that we build won't repeat the same kinds of problems. And that's a collective process that the masses of people must participate in. Sure, there are people that are still suffering in the interim. Sure, there are people that need immediate relief, but we know that we're not going to get that relief through government. We're not going to, and so we have to look at alternative ways of meeting the needs of people. We've been down this road before, particularly those of us who are of African descent. In the 1960s, and just to look at a micro example, the Black Panther Party, looking at its community that it served in Oakland, California, recognized that the needs of the people were not being met by anybody. There was no nonprofit agency network that exists now. There was no social safety net. And so what they did is, using their collective energy, using the goodwill of the community, working collectively and cooperatively, they developed their own network of social services that they provided for the community that they served. I'm not saying that we replicate that, but the same creativity, the same energy, and the same innovation that allowed them to develop what they called services and programs pending the revolution is something that we're capable of doing if we put our minds to it. But we won't do it if we continue to bark at a congressional system, at a government that is unresponsive and offers no prospect for the relief that our people need now.
Dwight McKee, your response?
Well, yeah, they did all of that, and then they got assassinated. I mean, I think that we give the people in this country too much credit in terms of a moral imperative. It's the government in many ways reflects the will of the people. And I don't think that American people are as ethical and as moral as we sometimes assume them to be. The Democrats and the Republicans agree on this uh, wartime budget, with 60% of the budget going to the military. All of them, they're one mind in terms, for the most part, in terms of what's going to happen to Israel and what's going to happen to the Palestinians. They're perfectly fine to bomb them into oblivion. Both parties. Both parties agreed on the Ukraine and sending all of the surplus money over there. I think we give America too much credit as a moral country. And what I see is that many of the people are imperialists. Many of the people are ethnically supremacists. Many of the people believe that America should be running the world. And until you get past that, you're going to have, there would be a contest about who's going to be in control and whose will is going to be done, whether it's going to be the Democrats or the Republicans. But for the most part, it's two different factions fighting for control over the same strategy and the same dogma. It is who's going to be in control of the empire. That's what I see.
Yeah, and I think we just have to be precise and scientific about who we're talking about and what we're talking about. Certainly there's lots of confusion among the masses of people in this country. But if we're talking about marginalized, oppressed communities, they're not trying to preserve the empire, they're trying to survive. And those are the communities that the Black Panther Party was trying to serve. The Panthers are an example, and an example that we must learn from. We must look at what they did and learn from their errors. The Panthers were attacked by the government and assassinated, and they succeeded in wiping the Panthers out because they were poorly organized. They grew too fast. They were uncontrolled. They underestimated the power of the state, and they did not make the preparations and organization that was necessary for them to sustain what they were trying to do. We must learn from that. And there are communities within this country that are not confused. And to the extent that they're ignorant, they can be educated and they can be informed. And we can organize within those communities. We can't look to the parties. The two parties are bankrupt and irrelevant. The Democratic and Republican parties are imperialist parties. They do not have our interests at heart, and we can't look to them. But we can look to ourselves. I mean, even Jesus did that with his community. When he was asked about the Roman Empire, he said, "Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto God that which is God's." He had no interest in participating with the Roman Empire whatsoever. He and his disciples, his followers, they formed their own community. They sustained themselves. They maintained themselves even in the midst of imperialist control of Palestine. We are capable of doing that. Even as small minority communities, we're capable of existing separate and apart from the interests of the empire and building a just community, providing for the basic needs of our communities. We're capable of doing those things if we have the courage and the vision and we're willing to do it. And I think that's the one thing that's missing, because I think we're still, there's self-delusion about the possibilities of government. There's self-delusion about the extent to which this country even believes that particularly Black and brown people even belong to the country. In a real sense, we've never even been accepted and embraced as part of the body politic.
I want you to answer Audrey Mark, who says, please explain, Attorney Mark, why you are in support of the colonizer, Russia. when in all other cases, as far as I've heard on the radio show, you're in support of the people? Why are you an apologist for the occupier in this case? What about some support for the people of Ukraine? Folks who simply want their freedom. Ukraine's history is long and established. There is a free series of lectures on YouTube by Professor Timothy Snyder of Yale, in which the whole history is clearly laid out.
That's a one-sided history if that's the conclusion that's reached, because I'm not apologizing for what Putin and Russia did in terms of their aggression and their violence. What I am saying is that that NATO and the United States are in many ways responsible for provoking it, because it for some years now, there has been an express discussion between these countries about Russia's fears about NATO expansion, about NATO coming ever closer to the Russian border, and Putin warning them that if you get too close, then there's going to be a problem. The United States, acting through Ukraine and NATO, has continued to get ever closer to the Russian border anyway, provoking the reaction that they could have and should have predicted if they didn't. And so what we've got now is a war that's unnecessary. It was unnecessary for them to provoke that war. And at this point, the answer to it is not to continue to arm Ukraine to try and fight back against Russia. The answer is to come in and to admit that NATO was wrong for provoking the war in the first place, to enter into agreements that they're going to back off, and to negotiate a peaceful solution. That is the answer to it. Peace is always the best solution to war. And NATO's hands are dripping with blood. The U.S. hands are dripping with blood because they brought this on. It was not necessary. And if you don't believe me, go and look at the facts about what was happening in the Donbass region and all of the things that preceded, this incursion by Russia into Ukraine. And let me say that the Obama administration, as much as many people love him, the Obama administration was front and center in causing this provocation.
Explain.
No, there were agreements that were worked out, about not extending into the Donbass region, during that period. And the U.S. went ahead and did it anyway. And, I have to apologize. I've not looked at this in a minute, and so I don't have facts and figures and dates, readily at hand. But it's there for people to look at.
It is true. There was an agreement when West Germany and East Germany came back together. They made the agreement with Russia, which was then becoming they were breaking up the USSR. They said, okay, we're breaking up, but what we would, and you are unifying Germany. Great. Do not bring NATO eastward. That's all we're asking. America agreed, and the reunification of Germany occurred. Russia broke up, and the next day, the United States and NATO started moving eastward. Now, you broke an agreement. That was not the agreement. So, Mark, there it is. I can't just sit here with all these notes all the time. I got all these papers here. You see what this table is looking like. You're right. And to be fair, get your history straight. Russia was never known as a colonizer, which is why India and the whole of Africa and the global South have sided with them, because they have not treated the global South and people of color the way Western Europe has. That's just a fact. Am I wrong?
No, that's exactly right. And I think that, the U.S. knows all of this, and they did it anyway. And what we can know about Putin and his personality is that it's not unreasonable for him to have thought, look, they're continuing to get closer to my border for purposes of trying to come in and to invade me and to take me over. And it looks to me like a war is inevitable. And if a war is inevitable, we're not going to fight it on Russian soil. I'm going to take it to them. Now, I'm not saying that that's right or that that's good, but it certainly was predictable. And why the U.S. provoked that, is the question that people should be asking.
Well, Dwight, you want to respond? Is anyone still? Is Shirley still there?
And
Chapearl, are either of
and
you still there? Hold on. I'm sorry, Dwight. I wanted to want to see if my callers were still there. Shirley, is Chapearl?
I'm still here, Santita. I wanted to say that this
Hold
is
on.
exactly what we're seeing.
Oh, okay. Well, I want you to respond after Dwight makes his point, but because I want to hear what you have to say, Chapearl.
Okay.
Dwight?
Okay, sure.
And the sister is the classic example of what I'm talking about. Is however well-meaning she is, however patriotic she feels herself to be, however ethical she sees herself to be, and I'm sure she is that given her perspective, given her ethos, she's a supporter of the United States in these circumstances and can't see the inconsistency in the United States actually provoking that war with Ukraine. She sees Putin as the bad guy, and he is a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy by himself in this. The United States provoked this war and could have prevented this war. Just like Israel, everybody's supporting Israel because most people are supporting Israel because it's very difficult for them to see how dishonorable that Israel has been with the Ukraine, with the Palestinians, and how they have demonized them and castrated them for the last 30 years. And so, out of
70.
desperation and frustration,
No, put a pin in
Well,
that
I'm-
because at the UNGA, I pointed out during my headlines, Benjamin Netanyahu presented a map of Israel to the United Nations, and Palestine was not there on it. Then one of his ministers said there's no such thing as a Palestinian just days later. So you can see,
and
as
that's
you
been
see
going on
that,
since
well, as you can see, as these Arab countries
been
are
going on since
normalizing relations, then the Palestinians said, you know what, our backs are against the wall because now our Arab brothers and sisters who were in solidarity with us are no longer in solidarity. What are we going to do?
and that's been going on since the 67 war.
Mhm.
But for the United States, or many of the Americans, they still see the Palestinians as the bad guys and Israelis as the good guys. And so I'm saying, given the American ethos, it's very difficult to deal with a revolution because we as a people believe that in the divine rights of America to run the world. I mean, we really believe that in the inherent superiority of America, and that we're willing to subjugate all of our values for that red, white, and blue flag.
Mm.
And so, I basically agree with Mark that a revolution is necessary. Where I disagree with him is, in order to have a revolution, you have to have an enlightened constituent. And I don't see any of that in America. You have small pockets of people who I think operate within the moral imperative, and most of them many of them I've seen are assassinated or eradicated before they can get real traction.
But I think the other side is this. I think that Americans are beginning to wake up, though. I'm not saying that we're there completely, not at all. But I think that Americans are beginning to wake up, and they're asking a lot of questions. But they are labeled conspiracy theorists. Thank you, CIA, and that's not what they are. Mark, before you say something, I think Chapearl wanted to jump in. Do you mind, Mark?
Oh no, go ahead.
Chapearl?
Santita, I wanted to say, I agree with what Dwight and Mark just said. I think that it's a scary parallel that we're seeing in Russia and Ukraine and Palestine and Israel. And the U.S. is basically supporting both of these ongoing wars. I woke up this morning to listening to a speech with Secretary of State Blinken and Netanyahu, and I was frightened about the tone of this press conference because of the fact that it's just so much destruction that is going to occur, and everyone is saying it's good. And I'm a biblical person, and I remember in the Bible when they say all the people will begin to say the bad is good and the good is bad. That is where we are at in this world. When we're seeing that the Palestinians are 2 million people stuck and can't move, and they're going to be blasted. He said he wants everyone dead. And you have the head of state of Israel saying that he wants to kill 2 million people, and everybody is okay with it. And everybody's supporting that. That is a scary situation. And so, I continue to encourage people to listen, and look for themselves, because, this world is becoming more and more evil every day. And I don't know, if we get someone in place in the Speaker of the House, what side are they going to be on, the just side, the human side? Because what they're advocating for is to murder 2 million people. That's what they're saying. And it's scary to listen to that.
And you never know where God is in all of this. Because they can't move right now. That's just because you can't say there is not there are no Palestinians. You can't present a map to the UN and say that Palestine does not exist. And then the corporate media in America says nothing. Are you serious? And you want to know why this happened? The head of the intelligence of the Foreign Service Committee in the House of Representatives, Mr. McCall, said after an intelligence briefing, he said Egypt warned Israel. He said, "No, I just left the briefing. I can't say anymore because I don't want to breach any security protocols." But they knew. So what's up? Now Bibi Netanyahu, who was in a lot of trouble before, now he is a war president, and everybody unites behind the war president. In the meantime, people are dying. 1,300 Palestinians are not dead. They are leveling Gaza City. And these people have not been able to leave. They have the sea, and they have the sea. They can't get to Egypt. They've blown up that portal. They didn't do that. Netanyahu said leave. And they're slaughtering Palestinians on the West Bank. This is awful. And nobody is safe. And yes, and they're going to bring the fight to Hamas, and Hamas is ready for them. And I just see bloodshed on all sides, and it's unnecessary. Period. I'm sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I think Chappelle lays it out in stark terms, in terms of the evil that's present, and I think Dwight is correct that there is mass confusion, not by accident but by design, and I think that the job of a revolutionary, the job of anyone who's concerned with justice, is to take that on head on. In any place where there's been a revolution, there's been confusion, and the revolutionary's responsibility is to try and eliminate that confusion, to educate people, to clarify. There are still large numbers of people who are misinformed and ignorant who would welcome correct information. Our job is to make sure that they have access to it. But we don't do that job effectively if all of our energy is put into trying to resurrect a dead animal in the form of, the U.S. government and its system. So that's the only thing. And we may or we may not succeed, but I think that we as people of conscience, people who are generally concerned about the welfare of our fellow human beings, to live with ourselves, have to at least go down trying. We have to do the best that we can to try and turn this thing around. And the way to do that is by bringing clarity and understanding to people who right now are laboring under the fog of confusion. And, I actually am optimistic about the prospects for success, even among many of the people who charged the Capitol on January 6th, because many of them were responding based on intuition and instinct, and they were misdirecting good impulses because they had been misguided. There were certainly people, probably the majority of them, who were racist and who were acting based on hatred and evil. But in the mix are people who want justice. They know that they've been deprived of it. They just don't understand how and why and what needs to be done about it. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic about the prospects for turning that around.
I am too, because I think that things are moving in another direction. I think that's why you have all of this. Well, there's chaos, but there are people. There's chaos when we're calling. I think what we're calling chaos is just questioning. People have a lot of questions, and there's a lot of mistrust. After you blow a president's brains out in the middle of the streets, my mother said, "Hey, the Kennedy assassination changed everything. Nothing was the same as of that day, and it has not been." Americans are increasingly frustrated with and mistrustful of our government and of its entities. That's a dangerous place to be if you want order, if you don't want chaos. And now white people have less access to the American dream. They cannot afford a house in 99% of the counties in the United States, according to a CBS report that I read to you last week. They cannot afford a house. And on and on and on it goes. Dr. King said before he died, before he was killed, he didn't die, he was killed, and he's still alive, everybody. He's more alive today and more relevant today than he was in 1968. He said, "I'm wondering if I've pulled my people into a burning building." Desegregation was the right fight. Voting rights, right fight. All of these fights have been right, but I'm looking at the structure of America, and I'm asking some questions. Is this not a house on fire? And have I integrated them into a burning building? We have a decision to make. Are we going to enter into the building, or are we going to be the fire persons who put the fire out? Choose this day whom ye will serve. You have to make a decision, everybody. You have to make a decision. Do you want a Congress that is going to support the killing of anybody anywhere? I hope not. Do you want to support imperialism? I hope not. Do you want to make good with the indigenous people here? I hope so. The African people who were brought here hundreds of years ago? I hope so. Do you want to make good with poor white people? They're being jammed too? I hope so. But we're the ones who have to make that decision. The government is us. It is reflecting who we are at this time. Now deal with that. I'm going to get some closing thoughts from everybody, including you, Chaparral, if you're still there. Chaparral, or do you have me on mute? Where is she going with these children? Get a lot of them. she might have gone on. Are you still there, Chaparral?
I'm here.
Okay, your closing thought.
My closing thought is that we just need to be a prayerful people, Santita. We have to pray for the government. We have to pray that they make wise decisions that are beneficial for every American and around the world. I just think we just have to be prayerful because we are in a state right now that, the evil means are trying to control and take over, and we got to pray this away. That's the only thing I think that can happen, Santita. But thank you so much for taking my call.
Of course, and faith requires work, everybody.
Yeah, Chaparral said what I say, and I agree with her 100%. I'm going to have to sign off, but thank you for all of that.
I'm sending you much love. Thank you, Mark. Okay. You always bring God. Right. God is at the center of everything that you say and do, and I appreciate that. And Dwight McKee, I would say that too about my little Dwight. Dwight, your closing thought. Oh, your mother would be so happy right now.
I'm a Bible reader, and the Bible says this is just the beginning of sorrows. And it says there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. There's going to be earthquakes. There was 2 earthquakes this week. Nobody even got to talk about that. It's just going to get worse. And I think redemption is going to be in ourselves and our families. And so I think that we have to look for and find salvation on our own. I think it has to be a long-range proposition that you're really trying to get ready for eternity. I think that at some point it's going to require Jesus to come back and clean all this up. This is my belief. And I think that if we're looking for salvation in this country and this politics, I don't think it's going to ever happen. Because I don't think that these values are really the divine values. I think these are the values of the prince of this world, who is not us, and not Christ, and not God. And I think things are only going to degenerate. That's what I see.
Well, and the book of
that's what the book says.
In the book of Revelation says that God has won. So the question is, whose side are you going to be on? You don't need God to be on your side. You need to be on God's side. What work are you going to do to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Whom will you serve on this day? You got to make a choice. Got to make a choice. So, D. Ray, you said this has been a fiery segment with Brother Dwight, Attorney Mark, and Miss Shirley Ann Chaparral. And everybody, and I just love you. I want you to vaya con Dios. Thank you, everybody. Love you, Angela and Bob and everyone here, and Karen and Osa. And we need each other in order to make this work. And I'm just so glad that you're with us every day. Let us disagree without being disagreeable. And sometimes we're going to poke at each other, and it'll be done in love, I hope. But let us stay together. Let us stay together. Let us stay together. And let us not impugn the integrity or the intellects of other people. Don't do that. You don't really know what anybody knows. You know what they tell you. You don't know what anybody knows. You have no idea. You have no idea what people know, because folks only tell you what you know. They asked, you remember Sonny and Cher. They asked Sonny, how was he going to make it without Cher? She was a superstar. And oh, yeah. He said, I'm going to be okay. You see, I taught Cher everything she knows, not everything I know. Ouch. And every woman with whom he partnered behind Cher became a superstar. Susie Coelho became a home guru, and then he sent his last wife, to Congress. After he sent himself to Congress. He had figured out something. So, let's not assume that other people don't know or are ignorant. Don't do that. And don't say that about anyone. It's not right. It's insulting and it's diminishing. It's diminishing. It's like calling people animals and things like that. That's diminishing. Nobody deserves that. And we deserve better. And we deserve to be treated correctly. So I love you, everybody. Love you, Dwight. Henry, love you. Thank you for a great show. It's been great. It's been great. It's been great. Everybody continue to look at the news. Boy, so much is happening every single day. And I'm grateful to be alive at this time. As crazy as the time is, I just want, when I go home, I want God to say, my child, you were on my side and you fought the good fight. I hope we can all say that. I love everybody. God bless you. Have a great, great, great day. In the rain in Chicago. Be safe. Love you, everybody.